Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers impress PFF analysts for second straight year. The Pittsburgh Steelers impressed in back-to-back drafts, according to Pro Football Focus. In the website's draft report card for all 32 teams, the Steelers received an A+ for the second straight year. The Steelers are the only team to receive an A+ from PFF for the 2024 draft. PFF analysts Trevor Sikkema, Sam Monson, and Steve Palazzolo elaborated in an April 28 video on the PFF YouTube page. "I like the Steelers draft a lot," Palazzolo said. "This is the second straight year now that we've loved the Steelers draft. When that happens, you would assume this would be a good year for Pittsburgh. I like when you look back at the draft, whether it's intentional or not, and you see the themes emerge. With 3 offensive linemen in their first 6 picks, 5 picks, I think those guys are all starters too." Monson agreed that every player the Steelers picked over the first 2 days could be a starter off the bat. "The Steelers absolutely had a fantastic draft," he said. "Love the value that they got for a lot of those positions. They tagged good players to fit relative areas of need. It's a great draft." PFF was impressed by the Steelers' 2024 draft before the weekend ended. In an April 27 article, PFF named the Steelers' offense one of the most improved units through the first 2 days of the draft. The Steelers used the first 2 days to select Washington offensive tackle Troy Fautanu, West Virginia center Zach Frazier, and Michigan wide receiver Roman Wilson. Pittsburgh enjoyed a good first 2 days, getting players at positions of need at good value compared to both the PFF Big Board and the Consensus Big Board, wrote Ben Lindsay. And each of their first 3 picks addressed the offense. The Steelers added one more offensive player on the third and final day of the draft in South Dakota State guard Mason McCormick. "You love the team identity players," said Sikkema, via the PFF YouTube page. "We say every year, this guy feels like Baltimore Raven. I feel like that's the one that gets talked about the most, but McCormick feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler." PFF analyst Steve Palazzolo believes Steelers' late third-round pick linebacker Peyton Wilson could be a steal if he remains healthy. Peyton Wilson, "It's always easier on the grades when a guy falls because of injury. There's a reason why he fell because of those injuries, but if Peyton Wilson stays healthy, as pick 97 in the draft, you're talking about a starting caliber linebacker." According to an April 26 report from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, the North Carolina State product slid in the draft because of a significant history with injuries. "First off, he has a multitude of injuries," Rappaport said, via Sports Illustrated. "First, there's a left shoulder injury that was operated on. It was not a great operation. That certainly is a lingering injury. But that's actually not the worst of it. He has torn his ACL twice, and my understanding, after talking to several sources, is that one of his knees does not have an ACL. It does not have an ACL." Wilson partly addressed his injuries in an introductory conference call with reporters on April 27. "I think when you turn on my tape, you can kind of see that I play with my hair on fire," he said. "I think that's truly because of what I've been through. Just really understanding that you can't take this game for granted, because no one in the world knows when that last snap is going to be. Everything that I've gone through, I've really learned to trust my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, as well as continue to play the game like it's going to be taken away from you. I just play as hard as I possibly can and prepare as hard as I possibly can." Former Ravens CB to attend Steelers minicamp. Generally, NFL rookie minicamps are for, well, rookies. But this year, the Steelers will have a veteran joining them as cornerback Anthony Averett tries out for the team. An Alabama product, Averett entered the NFL as a 4th-round pick in the 2018 NFL Draft by the Baltimore Ravens. The 5 feet 11 inches, 184-pound cornerback ran a 4.36-second 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. Averett's best NFL season came in 2021 with Baltimore, when he played in 14 games, recording 54 total tackles and 3 interceptions. However, that season ended in injury, as did Averett's 2022 with the Raiders. He started off the 2023 season with the 49ers before landing on injured reserve, finishing his season on the Lions practice squad after being released. Per Tom Pelissero, Averett is now fully recovered. Averett is now 29 years old, with 27 career starts under his belt. A good athlete who is expected to be healthy entering the Steelers' minicamp, there's a chance he could be a name to watch during Pittsburgh's offseason. Bryant McFadden says Steelers are close to landing significant playmaker. Over the past month and a half, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been busy putting together one of the NFL's most successful offseasons. They completely overhauled their quarterback room. They added an All-Pro at inside linebacker. Then the Steelers put together a draft that has received a ton of praise from analysts. The Steelers still might not be done trying to build a contender. On April 29, former Steelers cornerback Bryant McFadden reported that the team is close landing a significant playmaker. Even with all of the success they've had this offseason, there are still a couple of positions that seem like obvious candidates to get further additions. The first is cornerback. The Steelers haven't made it clear how they plan to use Donte Jackson next season after trading for him during the offseason. The team had needs at both outside corner and slot corner before the deal. Jackson should take on one of those roles, but the other will either require them to add another player or they'll need to hope somebody on their roster has made major improvements. It seems that won't be the position they're going after here, though. After McFadden's tweet, Steelers Nation posted a tweet stating that the player McFadden is talking about isn't a corner. The next position where they could be looking to make a move is wide receiver. The Steelers definitely improved there in the draft, taking Roman Wilson in the 3rd round, but they could still want more with just Calvin Austin, Quez Watkins, and Van Jefferson behind Wilson and George Pickens. The other position that it could be is safety. It's not necessarily a need after they signed Deshaun Elliott this offseason. However, there is no position where you'll find more significant playmakers in free agency right now than safety. The free agent class at the position was loaded with talent at the start of free agency, and there are still some big names out there. The list of playmakers the Steelers could be trying to land right now has some interesting names on it. If they are trying to land a free agent wide receiver, Tyler Boyd is a name that stands out. He was dependable for the Bengals throughout the first 8 years of his career and has ties to the area. If they are looking to make a trade for a bigger name, Courtland Sutton is the one that stands out. They reached out about him during the draft and the Broncos could be interested in trading him after drafting Troy Franklin. Brandon Ayuk is a name that got thrown around a lot before the draft, but it seems like he is going to be staying in San Francisco, despite the crowded wide receiver room for the 49ers. There is also one big star out there in free agency the Steelers could go after. It was a big surprise when the Broncos let go of safety Justin Simmons. He was an All-Pro in 2023 after making 70 tackles and intercepting 3 passes. It's an even bigger surprise that he's still available. Significant playmaker sounds like a pretty accurate way to describe a player that has intercepted 30 passes over his 8-year career. Any one of these players could further strengthen a Steelers roster that has already made major improvements this offseason. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation of Tyler Boyd? Leave your opinion in the comments.